Which is better, dumbbells or the barbell? And we're gonna start right now. So we've got to go over what type of adaptations does resistance-based training provide. And that first key, especially for sports performance, is going to be the neurological adaptations. And what does that mean? That means that our body will learn how to coordinate intramuscularly, intermuscularly, a little bit more effectively so we can be more explosive. So you might see this in athletes who just start resistance-based training and they're squatting and they're moving all over the place, or they're doing dumbbell benches like this, and then within 6 to 8 weeks, they're doing a really solid dumbbell bench. So that's going to be a neurological adaptation that also leads to greater power output. So resistance training can also provide metabolic adaptations, especially if we're gonna use short rest. So let's say that I'm doing sets of 10 back squats and I'm doing 30 to 60 seconds rest. That's gonna force my body to adapt and use our energy system a little bit more effectively. Oh, I don't like doing metabolic adaptation with barbells. So another form of adaptation will be hypertrophic adaptation. So this can be leading to greater muscular gains. So your muscle size actually increases, or your joints and your tendons, your ligaments actually increase in size because of the mechanical tension provided by the resistance from dumbbells or barbells. So with resistance-based training, we can see adaptations and improvements in impulse performance. We can see improvements in absolute strength. We can also see performance improvements regarding structural integrity. So our actual mobility might be improving from that resistance-based training, and this leads to better motor control. So what are the different types of movements that can be done with dumbbells and barbells? So if we're training with a barbell, we can use this for compound movements, like a back squat. Boom. Ooh, let me remove our garage strength foam pad. Available at garagestrength.com. Or you can do a compound movement like a bench press. Boom. You can do barbell-based training with heavier loads, like the deadlift. This isn't that heavy though. You can do lighter speed work, like squat and jumps with an empty bar. So with a barbell, you can do heavy work to improve your absolute strength. You can do lighter work to improve your technical coordination, and you can even use a barbell for specific sport strength. So with dumbbell exercises, we can still do compound movements. We can do something like a goblet squat and still do that with a lighter load. We can do isolation exercises like this dumbbell curl, but we can even do random exercises to isolate our quads or our calves or our hamstrings. One of the best parts around training isolation exercises is that you can even use our garage strength balance pad. So we're gonna do an isolation exercise, this single leg RDL, and I can't wait to read all the comments where people wanna argue with me that it's not an isolation exercise, but it is because you're only using one joint. So we're gonna go down, we're gonna have a little bit of instability in our ankle, and we come back up. We're only using one joint on the RDL. Okay, come back up. We're gonna be stable in that knee, stable in the ankle as much as we can. And that's also what's so great about using dumbbells even on the balance pad. Now we can get into something like a drop lunge. So we can go here, holding the dumbbells, drop, boom, drive back up, okay? And ideally I wouldn't drive past the pad. So I'm dropping, boom, drive back up. So you can use dumbbells with a sweet isolation exercise, and you can also use it while you're standing on this garage strength balance pad, and you can get into more explosive exercises like the drop lunges while you're overloading with dumbbells. Dumbbells are also awesome to use for extremely high rep sets. So if I'm gonna do a really high rep set of split squats, let's say 30, 40 reps, it's easier because I have a lighter load in my hand. I'm not using a really heavy barbell, and I can just bang out those 30 to 40 reps while just focusing on blocking out the severe pain in my quads and the pump in my back foot as well. Let's do a comparison of the barbell bench press versus the dumbbell bench press. So on the bench press with a barbell, you can also use the heavier load at 315 to improve that absolute strength. So you can do a lighter movement on the barbell bench press. It's a little bit more controlled and then fast on the way up. You can even get really creative by using your garage strength foam pad that you use for single leg squats by being more explosive on the bench press. There's gonna be a faster stretch shortening cycle at the bottom, which in turn leads to better motor unit recruitment. So some of the benefits from dumbbell benching is that I can even do pause in the hole, which gives me that bigger stretch here. This is not as deep as I would get with a barbell. Another thing I could do, alternating dumbbell bench like this. I could even pause down here, focus here. So we can really change up that rep scheme because of the sweet dumbbells. So how do they actually compare? Right off the bat, the first thing that I would do is if I want to gain a ton of strength, let's say my bench press is lagging, I can only bench 300 pounds. I have the bench of a high school sophomore. What I would do is I would get on the barbell and do a ton of work with a barbell because you can overload it with heavy weight. Let's say you can bench press more than 300 pounds, but your arms look like little spaghetti arms. So you want to get them a little bit more hypertrophic. You want to get a little bit more swole. Then I recommend using dumbbells to do a ton of reps with a deeper stretch, and that should lead to greater hypertrophic gains. But the best thing to do is to use the barbell and the dumbbell synergistically to lead to hypertrophic gains and structural integrity and ultimately a bigger bench. What about barbells for technical coordination versus dumbbells for technical coordination? So when we're training with a barbell, we can use a little bit heavier load to do more explosive movements, like this gross behind the neck jerk. We can get into deeper movements like snatches, cleans, other jerk variations. Another jerk variation might be just doing a push press here. But the big thing is, I can load more weight, I can have that technical focus, I can execute at a high speed, catch in deeper positions, and still improve my athletic performance because that load is high. And R.A. Roman said something very prominent back in the late 80s, early 90s. There's a big difference between moving heavy weight and moving heavy weight fast. And that's where the barbell comes into play with those technical coordination exercises. So when it comes to technical coordination movements with dumbbells, they're not gonna be as complex, they're not gonna be as loaded, but you can still do explosive work. You could do something like a dumbbell snatch, okay? So you wanna focus on that power output. Maybe you're traveling, you don't have access to a weightlifting gym, you can use dumbbells. You could also do things like a dumbbell swing if you even wanted to do that, or you could do dumbbell jumps. These are exercises that you can use to maintain or slightly improve that power output, that impulsability, but they won't be as complex as a technical coordination movements with the barbells. So my big thoughts is that you should be using the barbell if you want to focus on sports performance exercises like technical coordination and absolute strength. If you're in a time crunch, you don't have a lot of time to train, and you want to have a metabolic response, that's where you can start using dumbbells a little bit more effectively. Maybe you only have 30 minutes, and again, you want to burn a little bit more calories, go with the dumbbells. Both the dumbbell and the barbell are great tools, great pieces of equipment to improve your overall performance, but when it comes down to it, the barbell does indeed rule. So what's better for Bize and Trize? Training with a barbell, like this, or training with a dumbbell? So some of my favorite bicep exercises are really explosive barbell movements like that, a drop curl. You can also do slam curls where you have a pin and you want to slam the bar into that sticking point and hold that for about 8 to 10 seconds. Do that for 3 to 4 reps. Now, some people, when they're using barbells, they'll get a lot of pain right here on their forearms. Typically, it can be a mobility issue. It can also be that their forearms are pathetically weak, or it could just be a genetic predisposition. There's a couple different factors at play. So you have to be aware that strict curling with a barbell or doing explosive movements with a barbell can lead to a little bit of forearm pain. Now, if you do have that forearm pain, you can go over to a fat grip easy curl bar, like that one. Or you can use a normal easy curl bar. Or you can even use a super bar. I love using a super bar for strict curls, but I also like to use it for overhead movements like a tricep extension because I'm in a neutral position. So ultimately, there has to be a winner. And I would say it comes down to dumbbells for overall arm hypertrophy. And there's a couple different reasons. One being, I like to do a little bit more time under tension by just going one dumbbell at a time, because that does improve your grip strength, that does improve your forearm size. You can also do things like Zotman curls, where you go here, you rotate, that's gonna train your brachioradialis a little bit more and your brachialis, and that's gonna lead to that forearm growth. and ultimately bigger arms. You can't really do that with a barbell. So the other benefit behind training with dumbbells is you can do a greater range of motion. You can also do really wacky exercises like this post curl. This is featured in our Bize and Trize 1 and 2 volume that you can click on the link down below if you need a crazy arm workout. And so you can do post curls here. You can do curls for really, really high reps. I could do a drop set where I'm going, hey, let's run the rack, hit the 25s for a set of 17, and then get down to the 20s. And you can hit that for another 20 reps. Then you can get down to the 15s and hit that for another 20 reps. And now all of a sudden, you stop having arms the size of a 10th grader. So in the competition of arm size, dumbbells versus barbells, you can use both when you're training for arm thickness. So in the barbell versus dumbbell discussion, we have to think about what are the overarching goals. If we want to increase strength and improve our impulse ability, then we should be using barbells. If we want to increase our overall hypertrophy and our structural integrity, we want to be more like a bodybuilder and maybe a little bit more stable in specific joints, then you want to be using dumbbells. But remember, both of these are great. Barbells are great, and barbells will help with hypertrophy. Dumbbells are great, and dumbbells will help with absolute strength. But typically, if you go back to your goals, barbells for strength and explosiveness, dumbbells for structural integrity and overall size. If you need help with your overall size and your arms are small, click on the link down below and you can pick up our Bize and Trize books that are gonna be perfect for you to actually increase that upper arm girth. Because freaks, if you wanna become a champion, you've always gotta cultivate your power. Peace.